Hello, Lou, and welcome everyone. I am here, Alex Mondosian, editor-in-chief of Billionaire Mentor magazine, and this is an additional service we provide for those of you who want to hear, to view, and actually study some of our editors who are contributing to the magazine. Now, this is a digital magazine. Just simply go to iTunes and download the app, Billionaire Mentor. And my guest today is one of our authors and contributing editors, and I hope he writes again. And he is CEO and best-selling author of Performance-Based Hiring. His recent book is Essential Guide for Hiring and Getting Hired. And the article he wrote, and I'm reading this directly from LinkedIn, the article he wrote was a very important topic for me because I knew the author of this book. It's one of the best-selling books in business history. It's called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And he claims it transformed him into a fact finder. So, Lou, tell me how you first came across the book, and then we'll talk about your article and why it's so relevant to our viewers.
Sure. I think when I came across it, it must have been when Stephen wrote the book, which I can't remember. I'm assuming it was late 80s, early 90s, but certainly knew of the book, started reading it, and fell in love with it, and realized as a recruiter that most of the best people I had met possessed those 7 habits. So the idea of even the collective response of being a fact finder, I then started looking for those habits within people. Obviously, that would fit the job, but if they also fit the job and had those 7 habits, I said, well, I've got a pretty cool candidate here. So that was really the essence of it, and I think I heard him speak 3 or 4 or 5 times, but fell in love with the book and gave it many, many copies out to my clients.
Well, just as important to the book, what Dr. Covey did is he created leaders, and the word of mouth and how the book was repurposed through other people's work, I think, had more impact than the actual book itself. And eventually, his son, Stephen M.R. Covey, cut a deal with Franklin, and they created a multi-million-dollar company as a result in certifying and licensing folks, selling and living into the principles in the book. That's not what I'm interested in this interview, though. In your article, you talk about being a fact finder, and in that article, you talk about a very important acronym here, MSA, as it relates to the work that you do. What is MSA mean, and why is it so relevant to all of us in the workforce?
Well, let me just basically say what that means is most significant accomplishment. But I'm going to actually go back to a conversation I had with 20 recruiters about an hour ago, and they're screening hundreds of candidates for a sales position. We're helping a company hire them. And I said, when you talk to a candidate, you've got, at least in the first half hour, 40 minutes, you've got to find out 4 things. Number 1, are they in the game? Do they even have the basic skills and experiences? Number 2, are they an achiever? Meaning, are they in the top quartile of their peer group or top third? Number 3, have they accomplished something comparable? And number 4, do they even fit? Well, the middle part is most significant accomplishment. So the idea is, if I was interviewing you, Alex, I said, hey, we've got to launch this new product. Walk me through something where you've taken your toughest sales job. What's your most significant accomplishment? I'd like to understand that. So that's the essence of it. It's part of our whole interviewing methodology, but it's digging deep into a candidate's significant accomplishments.
What's interesting, Lou, is with securities, and you've seen many investment banks and investment firms talk about past performance does not predict future performance with a stock and a bond or a security or any kind of investment. But with human capital, there's no better way to predict future performance as past performance. So it's very, very important to me with the most significant accomplishment, that is past accomplishments, and it is predicting future behavior. Let's talk about one of the habits you mentioned in your article, which is, of course, begin with the end in mind. This isn't Dr. Covey's quote, by the way. This is a former Premier of the United Kingdom, Benjamin Disraeli. That was his quote, which was borrowed and repurposed. Why is that such an important habit for the type of work that you do, and how it relates to anyone reading that book or your article?
Okay, so let me kind of clarify a couple of things. You combine different things. There's no question that past performance predicts future performance. Some people think past behavior predicts future behavior, but that's not true. Past performance predicts future performance. You said past performance predicts future behavior, and behaviors are different than performance. Performance is the actual job itself and the actual situation, the actual circumstances. So now you combine that concept of begin with the end in mind, is if I'm hiring a sales rep and we're helping this company hire sales reps, I talk to the VP of sales and the directors of sales and says, what does this person need to do to be considered successful? They've got to contact customers. They've got to prepare a territory map. They've got to engage in 3 to 4 different discovery calls. But they do a sequence of steps that indicates what future performances looks like. That is the end. So beginning interviewing a candidate, I can't, and most people think past behavior. Well, tell me about when you've sold sales, Alex. Well, that's might be indicating that you can sell sales, but you might not be able to do it in the performance needs that this company requires. So the idea is, my most significant accomplishment question is, tell me about when you've sold sales in this kind of environment. So I'm looking in that situation, customers, type of product, complexity of the close, complexity of the issues, and this could relate to any job. But the idea is the most significant accomplishment. I dig deep into that person's accomplishments, past performance, and see how it compares to the future performance, which is the end in mind. I understand what the end is, I understand what the past is like, and I see if there's a fit between those two components.
It's a brilliant distinction, and thank you for gently outlining the mistake. Mistakes are great, said Buckminster Fuller. The more I make, the smarter I get. So the beauty of a mistake...
We only have 12 minutes here, so we can't get too deep.
No, I hear you, but what you just made very clear to me is I will never forget that, because performance and behavior are different, and I've been using them interchangeably, so thank you. Another habit is win-win. How does win-win work in the workforce? I think it's much deeper than what we think on the surface. What does win-win mean to you as a habit?
Oh, very, very clear. So I make this contention, is that most companies set up their hiring processes just to hire people like they've always hired. And they don't really think win-win. So to hire people just like you've always hired, they post a job description listing skills, duties, and responsibilities. The problem with that is they have to find a person who's got the exact same skills, duties, and responsibilities and is willing to take a lateral transfer. They usually take it because they have an economic need to take the job or some going away strategy. If you want to raise the talent bar, you have to think win-win. This job for a salesperson, we can find a lot of people who are out of work who might see this job, or even people who are marginally employed in sales see this as a great job. But that's only a win for the candidate. They're giving something else. To see it as a career move, you have to kind of conceive of why is this job a career move? So where I thought begin with the end in mind, I asked the manager, what does success look like? I then don't leave the room until I say, why would a top person already doing similar work want this job? What's the employee value proposition? What's in it? Then when I call a candidate up, I've got to talk to that person saying, what about their career? What about their move? Yes, you might be able to do this work, but is it a career move? Not just a money move, but is it a career move? Does it offer stretch? Does it offer growth? Does it enable you to accomplish something you wouldn't happen? So at both levels, we're thinking of the job not just of matching of skills and experiences, but career issues, career desires. Is this a career move? So the focus is not just the job, it's about getting a career. That's how you think win-win.
That's beautiful, and I guess the third win is the customer, the suppliers, and everyone else the company deals with, because you got the win-win internally. One thing Dr. Covey mentioned, and his son Stephen M.R., who wrote another book called The Speed of Trust, they said win-win or no deal. So in their minds, win-win was so important. If it ain't win-win, there's no deal whatsoever. Would you agree with that statement?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I think that's why I say most people, and I call it the vicious cycle, most people hire people who have an economic need to apply. They then close the deal on what I call short-term stuff, what they get on day one, the job, the salary, the title, the compensation. But when they realize the job itself isn't internally satisfying, well, then all of a sudden they become somewhat disenchanted. So it's not really, it's a win-win short-term. I think it's got to be a win-win long-term, which is what's the person going to do, what can the person become if they do it well. So absolutely.
Now you transform yourself into a fact finder, and I would be remiss as interviewing you if I didn't ask, okay, why is a fact finder so important to you or anyone else watching this brief interview on Hangout and through Billionaire Mentor?
Well, I would say the real issue is that although I've always been a fact finder, meaning tell me about a major accomplishment, Alex, and peeling the onion and understanding it, as part of peeling the onion, I'm looking for the 7 habits. What are those people doing? So it just reinforced the idea is, okay, I want a good person who sees this job as a career move, has walked through it, but as part of it, I'm asking, hey, where have you really negotiated a win-win situation? Where have you really gone the extra mile? Where have you actually been proactive? So a lot of the 7 habits are built into it, so it added another dimension to what to look for under the most significant accomplishment question.
Okay, brilliant. I'm telling you, 12 to 15 minutes, you're hitting this thing out of the park. It's a 450-foot home run. We're still baseball season, but let's talk about performance. how does performance-based hiring work compared to other types of hiring? If anyone should know, you should. What would you say?
Let's do this. If I do not know, do not buy my books, do not listen to a word, and erase this video. Performance-based hiring is a little bit different. What we did over as a recruiter, after about 5 or 10 years, I realized there was a process in which the best people took jobs, how you found them. 4 basic things which ultimately became performance-based hiring. Number one, if you wanted to hire a great person, you had to have a great job. Traditional skills, job descriptions didn't do it. Number 2, good people don't look for work the way average people look for work. You have to reach out, you have to attract them. It's not a weeding out the weak, it's an attracting the best process. Third, you had to have an interview that was a two-way interview. Candidates have just as much right to understand the details as the employer does. So you had to have this win-win at the interviewing. Does this job fit all the way around? And number 4, you never had enough money in the budget. It was always, is this a career move? Compensation is part of it, growth is part of it, job stretch is part of it, impact is part of it. You got to put all of those together. That's what performance-based hiring is. It's not a series of just interviewing, just recruiting, just advertising. It's putting them all together in a unique integrated system that allows companies to hire great people every time.
Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot. You got 30 seconds to think of it, so listen carefully. If you had one word you want to leave our viewers with, what would it be? And why is that word your word for this interview? In the meantime, those of you who have not downloaded the app, simply go to iTunes on your tablet and mobile device. Download the Billionaire Mentor app by going to Billionaire Mentor, just typing that in. Download the app, and you'll get a free subscription there. This is a digital magazine. We don't kill any trees, and we are not selling molecules. We are making sure we enculturate you with these ideas, and today Lou is one of our many contributors. Lou, one word, and why is that word the one you want to leave us with?
Discovery.
Why?
The discovery is, I think if you're a candidate, you have to ask the hiring manager, the interviewer, what does this person need to do in order to be successful? You have to discover that. If you're a hiring manager interviewing a candidate, you got to discover what this candidate has done that's most comparable. And it's not a transaction. Too many people think hiring is a transaction. You fit the skills, you meet the price, you take the job, and you're there. It's a discovery process that requires both people to recognize this as an opportunity on both sides of the desk. So that's where I think discovery is really the difference, not transaction.
I've got a D word for today. It's delivery. You delivered the goods, and you did it in a very practical format. My guest and our contributing editor to Billionaire Mentor has been Lou Adler. Simply go to louadlergroup.com to learn more about him. My name is Alex Mondosian. I'm editor-in-chief, but I'm a leader from behind. So when everyone's job is done and they're saying we did it ourselves, I have accomplished my goal, and this interview has been one of those. So I appreciate you, and I welcome you to read the article in depth in Billionaire Mentor magazine. All good wishes, and I hope our paths cross again soon.
Thank you.